Welcome back to Module 1, the method, and this is Lesson 2, the art of taking charge of the room. When you come in as a speaker, you have to have a command presence that lets them know that you are in charge. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you in this lesson. So I want you to think about something. Simon Sinek has a book. It's called Start With Why. And he has a quote in this book that says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. In other words, what's the reason that you decided to go into this business or start this after school program or whatever it is that you're doing? What is the reason why you do it? And so in this lesson, I want you to understand that you have to know why you're going in to speak. And in doing so, you want to make sure you implement these 3 strategies. First thing is your command presence. You want to make sure you monitor how you stand. There are certain postures that make you look powerful, certain postures that make you look weak. One of the things is you want to command the stage. Have a place on the stage where you stand that shows that you're in charge. You'll see a lot of people walking back and forth across the stage, but it's really a nervous walk. They don't go out to a place, plant their feet, deliver content, maybe move to another place, plant their feet, deliver content. They're walking and talking at the same time. And a lot of times that could take away from your presentation. So part of your command presence is looking good, feeling good, and knowing that when you stand on the stage, you're in charge. Now, here's something that you want to think about. One of the ways to get the audience to see you as in charge is to give them a command. Now, if you think about it, you've probably seen many speakers use this technique. They use it in rallies, they use it in churches, they use it in office presentations, they use it in seminars, and they'll say things like stand to your feet, or turn to your neighbor, or raise your hand, or repeat after me, or tell your neighbor this or that. All of those things are commands that let you know, even though you don't realize it, that they're in charge. They've taken charge of the room. They've gotten you to do something. And when they do that, inadvertently, subconsciously, you realize that they are in charge. And they know that they've gotten you to buy in to their presentation. So you want to think about what are the commands that you can have. What is your commanding statement going to be? Are you going to get them to stand to their feet or put their hands together? Are you going to get them to say something to their neighbor or to validate how they look? Turn to the person to your right and left and say, you look good and so do I. What is that commanding statement that you're going to have? Because what you want them to do is to follow your command so much that when it comes time for you to tell them to take action, they just automatically do it. Now, I learned this principle firsthand in the military. I am a veteran. I was in Operation Desert Shield / Desert Storm. But when I went to basic training, it was a whole new experience for me. I was a kid. I went to basic training during the summer of my junior and senior year. So I was still in high school. And it was interesting because as much as I thought I was ready, I wasn't ready. They gave me so many commands, it was hard for me to keep up. They even had a saying, when I say jump, you say how high. In other words, they didn't want you to question anything that they said. And when I was in basic training, I didn't understand it. What I did do is everything they said, because if for any reason you didn't do it, there was some kind of discipline attached to that. So they'd say, get out and give me 20. And if you didn't get down fast enough, they'd say, stay down there. And then if you didn't do enough, they'd say, keep going. And they'd give you all these different commands, get up, stand up, attention, all of these different commands. And I didn't really understand it when I was in basic training. But later I became a sergeant and I went to non-commissioned officers primary development course. There's a leadership development course. And what I realized is the reason that they got you indoctrinated to follow the commands is because at some point you're going to tell them to do something and you don't want them to think whether they want to do it or not. You want it to be automatic. So military is about going to war. They want to defend the country. So if they say, take that hill, and there's 10 cannons up there and machine guns, they don't want you to stop and think, I don't think that's a good idea. No, they just want you to take action. Well, guess what? When you're speaking, when you're presenting, you want to get the audience on your side. You want them to listen to you. You want to give commands throughout your presentation. Raise your hand, yes or yes. Do you agree? Turn to your neighbor, stand up, give them a round of applause, put your hands together. You want to do all those things because at some point in your presentation, you may ask them to take some sort of action to come buy your product, to join your team, to purchase your program. And if you do that, you want them to have followed you so many times that it's almost automatic. It just seems like the logical next step. Why? Well, because you're in charge of the room. And that's the concept with taking charge of the room. You want to be in charge. Now, let me tell you what actions I want you to take with this presentation, with this lesson. The first thing is you want to identify what the commanding statements are. What is your command presence and what is your commanding statements? Those are very important things that I want you to identify. Whatever they are, write those down. When you think about your presentation, go through and ask, where can I put a call and response in there? Where can I get the audience involved? So you want to have that information written down. Then, what are the commands that you use to get the audience engaged? Are you telling them to do something? Are you telling them to take some kind of action? That's very important for you to know what those commands are. And you want to know that before you go to start the presentation. Now, the benefit is if you can get them to do what you say, to follow your actions, to follow your directions, then you become what's known as an effective speaker. A good speaker, they love them, they applaud, they like what they had to say. An effective speaker gets them to take action. The question is, what will you get them to do? If you can do that, if you can get the audience members to follow your command and take some kind of action, then companies, corporations, they will all be bringing you in because you have the ability to get them to do something. Why? Because you are in charge of the room. I want you to get ready for our next lesson, and that's Taking Charge of the Room, Part 2. Get your notes out, have your pen and paper ready, take a little break, and I'll see you in the next lesson.